and welcome to Brand X Reviews. You may remember back in around about November, December time, 2013, I did a review of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and I did say that I hadn't seen the TV series that kind of came before it called Robin of Sherwood, but I did give a bit of a shout out to the core because he is a fellow reviewer of mine and he's very much into Robin of Sherwood, the TV series, and I've never seen it, so I did give a bit of a shout out at the time to say, look, you should do a review of that on your own. I've got a fellow reviewer you might have seen in the Star Wars reviews, the Core. He might want to do a review of Robin of Sherwood, the TV series, because I'm pretty sure he owns those on DVD. So, Core, if you're watching this, get off your ass and do a review of that TV series. He's finally got around to doing it anyway, so what follows is his review. I'll just leave it to him. And of course, after that, you may remember in the last show, I nominated him to do the Ice Bucket Challenge. I nominate Anthony Scott and the Core. Oh, you bastard.
Right, that's it.
No! Well, we'll have a look at that after the credits as well. So, he does say something in his video about I couldn't do the Robin of Sherwood video with him because I'm like suffering pneumonia or something like that. A lot of bollocks, really. He was just trying to make up for the fact that in his video, Ice Bucket Challenge, he looks like a complete pussy. I kind of came out of mine with a lot of dignity, so check that anyway, that's going to be after the credits. But for now, here's Core's review of Robin of Sherwood.
Welcome to Brand X Reviews. This week it's just going to be me, Joseph's not going to be appearing. Unfortunately, he seems to have come down with a very bad cold after Sunday. I have no idea who dumped an entire bucket of ice water over him, so luckily it's a little bit of time's passed now. I'm pretty sure I'm safe on my Ice Bucket Challenge, so luckily that's not going to be happening to me. But anyway, enough of that, we'll get started on the review. This time I'm going to be talking about a classic 80s TV series, Robin of Sherwood. This basically ran from about the mid-80s for about 3 years, so 3 full seasons of it. And it's widely held up as pretty much the definitive Robin Hood. Forget about the one the BBC did a couple of years ago, it's absolute shit. This is the one you want. Basically, to give you a little bit of background on this, there hadn't been like a Robin Hood series for quite a while. There'd been kind of like a lot of the older ones, like the black and white ones and the Errol Flynn films. But basically, a couple of guys got together and Richard Carpenter, I think the creator, basically pitched the idea of doing a new reworking of the Robin Hood series. Basically, they got together with a couple of companies, mainly working for ITV, which is when this was released on. They'd come off like making such series as Dick Turpin, I think it was, and Black Beauty, so they had a lot of experience in outdoor shooting and working with horses naturally from Black Beauty and other things, so it was pretty much the perfect storm. They had the great creator behind it who had a lot of good ideas. They had the production team that was like quite familiar with doing this kind of show. They also had an excellent cast, which I'll get to in a little bit. Basically, they've all been released at this point on DVD. You can usually get a full series. You can see that on a single box. Basically, like a lot of TV back in the 80s, especially English TV, rather than nowadays where you get like 20, 22, 24 episodes a series, these you'd only get 7, 8 maybe at most. In this case, the first series is only 6 episodes long. Series 2 pushed it to 7. And the third series, which is actually the longest series, made it to 13 episodes, I think it was. And basically that is across 2 sets. So you'll need to get all of those to get the complete series. As you can see, my set's a little bit mix and match. I did originally have both of these larger box sets, which have split each individual season, as well as being split in half. They've split the halves into like 2 different boxes. Basically, the other one, he's got nicked by a friend, so I had to rebuy it off eBay. And by that point, pretty much what you were getting was this. If you're interested in getting the entire series, there have actually been released, both in DVD and Blu-ray, the full box set, which has all 3 seasons together. And if you want to basically get the full experience, that's probably your best bet. Now, I have checked, and most of the special features from these you will get on the altogether box set as well. I didn't really notice any features that were missing from these, so if you did buy them individually, like just wanting to get a season at a time, you could probably do that as well. But anyway, I'll get to why these series are so good. Basically, these are widely considered the definitive take on Robin Hood. Certainly when it comes to TV series. These were, like I say, it was mid-80s, only did 3 seasons, and I don't even think it was repeated that much. Basically, I was alive when this was on, but I don't remember seeing these actually on TV. It would have been well into the 90s, if not the 2000s, by the time I actually saw this, and it was on VHS when I saw it. Basically, they took the standard Robin Hood mythology and added some new twists to it. Basically in this, it is Robin of Locksley, but unlike Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he's not a nobleman, he's just a simple a yeoman, as they would say, like a serf. He comes from Locksley village, which is burned at the very start of this by the sheriff, and his father was something of a revolutionary who is basically killed by the sheriff because he's like spreading dissent against Norman rule of Britain. Robin grows up like in this other family who are like taking care of him, with kind of the village idiot called Much, who's his like sort of adopted brother. The two are close friends, and he kind of looks out for him. And basically, it all kicks off when Much, being a bit of like a simpleton, kills one of the king's deer as like an act of not exactly rebellion. It's just like he's hungry and he thinks that just makes it all right, even though it's against the law. And Robin pretty much tells him he's an idiot. Basically, they get caught by Guy of Gisborne and thrown in jail, where they meet the other. The beginnings of the Merry Men. They meet Will Scarlet and a few others, and eventually engineer their escape, meeting Maid Marian for the first time during their like breakaway. Now, where this like really starts to take a divergence from your standard Robin Hood mythology is in a couple of ways. Firstly, they use quite a bit of Celtic mythology in this. There's a lot of different ways in why Robin's called Robin Hood. In this case, he is Robin in the Hood, Herne the Hunter's son. And Herne the Hunter is like this Celtic god who has chosen Robin as his emissary, if you like, his champion for the downtrodden people of Britain against like the Norman invaders. And basically Herne the Hunter in this is presented as like very shamantic, because he's basically this priest, and when he dons this headdress he speaks as Herne. You actually see him without the headdress and he's just like an old guy who's like kind of like a priest, but when he puts the headdress on he is speaking as is Herne. So they basically bring in, like I say, mythology quite heavily. They also bring in magic to some degree. Even the first episode is Robin Hood and the Sorcerer, as Robin has to rescue Maid Marian from this guy called the Baron de Belem, who's like basically in the show he's this crusading knight who went mad, and it's suggested he got sunstroke, but he's also like basically, and I know I use basically too much, but sod it. He's got sunstroke and he's embraced Satanism, and he actually does have real magical power. He actually sends Little John to kill Robin because he's drawn this weird pentagram on him that allows him to control him. And he only joins the Merry Men when Robin dumps him in the river. Kind of the classic fight where Robin fights Little John on a bridge. So in this case, Little John's literally out there to kill Robin. Second way, this also deviates from the standard Robin Hood you had up to this point, and is, to be honest, probably an influence on things like Prince of Thieves and other later series, is it also introduced the character of Nazir, who was this Saracen. Now originally he's the Baron de Belem's right-hand guy, but after Robin kills the Baron de Belem and like fights Nazir actually comes to respect him because he's like such a good swordsman, and chooses to spare his life. And basically Robin calls off the Merry Men who are about to kill him because he's also gained respect for this swordsman, and thus Nazir becomes the newest member of the Merry Men, joins with them. Basically for a more contemporary thing, it's almost like Altair from Assassin's Creed joining with Robin Hood. It's quite cool. And it's almost entirely accidental, because originally in the series the character of Nazir was just going to be Edmund the Archer, and he was supposed to die in the first episode. Even when they changed it to, he's Nazir the Saracen, he was still meant to just be the villain of the first episode, and then he was gone. The guys showed up for filming, took one look at him and like, wow, this guy looks really cool in the costume, and like especially the way he's like using those two swords. Is there any way we can keep him? And the creator, Richard Carpenter, was very much, can we keep him? He's the bad guy, we can't keep him. But eventually they kind of figured it out, and he was probably one of the more popular characters in the show. Yeah, your first two series feature Robin Hood as portrayed by Michael Praed. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's a vaguely Celtic word that he chose for his screen name. He's quite a good Robin Hood. He's very serious, very kind of driven. And for seasons 1 and 2, that's the guy you are following. Now, when it came to make season 3 of the show, they hit a bit of a snag, because they'd only actually signed Michael Praed on for 2 seasons. And at this point he'd got the chance to go to Hollywood and star in a Broadway adaptation of The Three Musketeers. And he didn't want to return and do the 3rd season. And certainly schedule wouldn't allow it. So after some kind of soul-searching and panicking, they eventually decided to recast. Now there were quite a few people considered for Robin Hood, like in the early days, including Paul McGann, who went on to be Doctor Who in the TV movie, and it was Neil Morrissey from Men Behaving Badly. And actually when you see pictures of him like back in this period of the 80s, you can actually kind of see, because both of them had a very similar look to Michael Praed, like really dark hair, kind of long dark hair, and a very youthful look to them. But it was suggested, well, why don't we give Jason Connery a try, as in Connery as in Sean Connery's son, Jason Connery. And they kind of hummed and hawed a little bit, and like, that's a really good idea, let's get him in for a test, and pretty much he got the part almost straight off once they got that idea into their heads. It's like, we'll get this guy. He's a very good replacement to the old Robin. He's not the same character. They don't pull a Doctor Who like he just changes his face. This is getting into minor spoiler territories, though if you did any sort of research on Robin Hood you'd know this. Michael Praed's character dies at the end of season 2. Pretty much gets hounded by the Sheriff of Nottingham. He has like tracking dogs, hunts him all throughout the forest, and finally corners him. And basically the final scene is you see Robin break his bow and just like stand there, and then you have the twang of the crossbows going off, and it just cuts to like the next scene, and Robin is dead. However, at his funeral, a mysterious man in a hood shows up, both to rescue the rest of the merry men who'd been captured, and also to join in the impromptu funeral for Robin Hood by like firing a burning arrow into the lake like the rest of them were doing. It basically turns out that Hearn had sought out a replacement to Robin, because in some ways, like I say, he was a champion to the people. It was bigger than just one man. Now they decided, rather than, like I say, pretending it's the same guy, he just looks different now. This guy is Robert of Huntingdon, and he's more close to the Kevin Costner character you get in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He's actually an earl's son, which is some of the myth. It's kind of like split down the middle, the Robin Hood myths. Either he is just a simple yeoman who like rises up, or he is like a noble's son who becomes an outlaw. So in some ways they had kind of historical precedents for doing this, having more than one Robin Hood. So Robert of Huntingdon takes up the mantle of Robin Hood and becomes the new leader of the outlaws. Sadly, they never actually made a season 4, which is a shame. Basically, Goldcrest, one of the major contributors to the series, went bankrupt, which is very sad. The other two companies that were putting money into the project, Showtime and HTV, I think it was, effectively couldn't get together enough money to get the fourth season going. So unfortunately, it died a death, which is a shame because it was a really popular series. I can remember as a kid, both my sister and my brother were massive fans, and in some ways their fond recollections of it is what drove me to seek this series out. Most of the cast are uniformly great. I can't really think of a single actor of the regular cast who I would class as bad or annoying. Even the sort of comic relief character Much, who's a bit of an idiot, he's not annoying. He's just a bit, I don't even say he's necessarily an idiot, he's just a bit innocent. Like I say, in the first episode he equates well, we're starving to it'll be okay to kill the King's Day because we're starving, and that explains it, and that makes it alright, which naturally it doesn't. That's not how medieval society worked. Michael Praed is, like I say, is excellent as Robin. Unfortunately, it turns out his choice to go off and do The Three Musketeers was a disaster because the critics actually panned it. But he did go on. He appeared in Dynasty and a couple of other things. Judy Trott made Marion. I think she's on any of these covers that I can show you. Find a good picture of her. But she's probably one of my favourite Maid Marians. She manages to get the right balance between being competent and strong, but without being a strong, independent woman in a stupid 90s Spice Girls bullshit, in no way actually strong kind of way like they usually are. I mean, the Maid Marian in the more recent 2006 series, I think it was absolutely terrible. It wasn't enough that she was independent and strong-willed and did her own thing. She also happened to be her own outlaw long before Robin even showed up, because that's equality for you. It's stupid, it was retarded, it didn't work. Even the Russell Crowe film of Robin Hood kind of hit the same sticking point. They wanted her to be strong and her own character so they didn't piss anybody off. But at the same time, I could not see the character as she was written suddenly strapping on armour and riding into battle with Robin at the end. It was very silly. In this, she does have a little bit of a maiden in distress thing going, but she's also a character who quickly pretty much tells the rest of the merry men that she's not putting up with them treating her like she's less than they are. She wants to learn how to fight. She wants to be part of what they're doing. She's pretty proactive in the things she's doing. She even saves the day a couple of times. Usually they do have this thing where if there's trouble brewing, they're like, Much, take care of Marion. But if you look closely, I'm pretty sure the undercurrent is like, Marion, Much is an idiot. Can you just keep him out of the way so he doesn't get killed? Thanks. Because it's like clear, Marion is way more competent than Much. Like I said, Jason Connery did a really good job of taking over. His Robin was sufficiently different than Michael Praed's that they are both unique characters. Nicholas Grace is also somebody that I would definitely say does a really good job as like an insane Sheriff of Nottingham. He basically, he's not just the Sheriff of Nottingham, he's Robert Dorano, he's actually given a name in this. And he's brilliantly high-strung, because any kind of plan of his that goes wrong, he's the sort that kind of rants and snaps and basically verbally beats the shit out of Guy of Gisborne, who's very much a sidekick to him. He kind of likens it in the interviews to if he was a public school like monitor or somebody with like some like authority. Guy of Gisborne would be like a little toady, which anything he does that's right, it's all his, guidance, of course, and anything he screws up, it's all Gisborne's fault. A couple of the people that are worthy of mention, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all good, but Clive Mantle, the guy who plays Little John, is somebody you probably recognise. He's been in a few things, most noticeably Casualty, another British show that was quite big for a while. He was in that. He had a bit part in Aliens 3. He actually had lines in that as well. Also, he most recently, within the last couple of years, he had a reasonable part in Game of Thrones as Great John Umber, which is kind of ironic considering he started off as Little John. Another one is Mark Ryan, who was the guy who played Nazir. He's pretty eclectic career. He's done quite a few things, sword work on certain shows. He's done a bit of directing, he's done a bit of writing. He's in Black Sails at the moment, this show about pirates that I've not actually got around to watching yet. And also, kind of ashamedly, he did a lot of voice work on the Transformers movies. He's apparently the voice of Bumblebee at one point. So, he was excellent as Nazir. He was a very, very cool character. And like I say, if he didn't inspire other shows like The New Adventures of Robin Hood to have like a Saracen character and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I would be very surprised. He was one of the most popular characters in it. He was a bit of a, I wouldn't necessarily say anti-hero, because he was very honourable and very, despite from the first episode, you don't really see him do anything wrong, and even then he's a hired sword, he's not really doing anything villainous. He's just doing as the Baron de Bellem tells him, who's his employer. And like I say, when given a choice, he spares Robin. Another name that you will recognise is Ray Winston. He's been in an absolute ton of things. I'm not even going to start going through all the things he's been in. Most recently, I think he had a massively starring role in the film The Sweeney, although it was apparently a bit of a bad film, but he's been in tons of things. He's pretty popular around Hollywood. And he played the role of Will Scarlet, and he pretty much nailed it. Whenever I actually see him now, I think, oh cool, Will Scarlet's in something else. Anyway, this is a really solid series. It does a lot of interesting things. The fact it brings in Celtic mythology is quite interesting. It even has sword and sorcery elements, which are very well done. A lot of the effects stand up because there's not a lot of effects. A lot of it is actually outdoor shooting. When they're swinging around swords, they are like proper metal swords. I mean, they're not sharp or anything, but it's not like fiberglass or anything with extra sound effects added in. In fact, from all the extra features are saying just what a pain in the arse the sword fighting was, because they're literally lugging around a big bit of metal all the time. The one effect that doesn't stand up, and it kind of adds to the show's charm, is they have a really bad day for night effect. I don't know why they didn't just shoot day and night shoots, but the day for night effect is bad to the point where it's actually part of the show's charm. they've got this horrible kind of blurry streak at the top of the screen when it's supposed to be night. It's really funny looking. There have been attempts to get a fourth series off the ground, but unfortunately the death of, I think it was Richard Carpenter, the creator, back in 2012 has pretty much put a final line on it. It's unlikely it will ever happen now, which is a shame, because a lot of the actors, even Ray Winston, were up for coming back and doing it. They all had such a great time on the show. Anyway, that's pretty much where I'm going to wrap things up. Great series, well worth checking out.
Right, so we're doing the
What?
the ice bucket challenge.
No! Look! I gave money to charity. I gave some DVDs to a charity shop. I'm cool.
That wasn't voluntary. That was total for stealing your Robin of Sherwood box set. Right, we're doing this after the credits. I had to go through with it, so you.
Yay!
Right, it's your turn now, you bastard. You ice bucket challenged me last time.
There's no way, like, talking my way out of this.
I had no way of talking my way out of it, so you're certainly not doing it.
Okay,
Right.
well...
Who are you going to nominate?
I'm going to nominate FB Skelton.
Yeah.
And, well, if Buff says that Topper never jerked off in his face, then he can do the ice bucket
Yeah, because
challenge.
clearly he's not going to be afraid of
Yeah.
water in his face.
So, Buff, you're nominated.
Any last...
I don't want to do this.
Tough.
Ah! Jesus! God!
Yes, it wasn't easy, was it?
That's quite good.
Oh, it isn't.
Hang on, I've got it on my arm. Oh,
Get out of the way.
So there it is, Cause Ice Bucket Challenge video. Now, who came across the biggest pussy, me or him? Well, let's just put it this way. I got iced and he made this noise. Then he got iced and he made this noise. Seriously, who's the biggest bitch there? Anyway, that's the Ice Bucket video. Now, also during Cause Robin of Sherwood review, he did make a few cock-ups. Keep saying the word basically all the time, and he actually kind of picked up on it a few times and asked me if I'd edit it out of the video. So I did edit it out of the video as promised, but I didn't promise to leave those cock-ups in after the post-credit sequence, so enjoy.
But basically... I've used it again, damn it! The guy showed up for probably one of the more popular characters in the show. Basically... Again! Stop laughing! I'm going to cut some of these basicallys out, okay? I completely lost my train of thought! No! That doesn't help. I was talking about Nazir, wasn't I? Finally, the last person, you're going to recognise this name, Ray Winston, who was basically... Damn it. Again. I never used to notice until somebody actually pointed out I use that word too much. Right. Starting again.